All right, this is the North Texas Council Vetting Committee for the State Board of Education District 12 vetting process. I'm going to read the rules aloud. No one is allowed to be in the room except the vetting panel and the candidate. All electronics allowed in the room shall be turned off except laptops used by the vetting committee and the video recorders provided by the vetting committee. Cell phones or voice recorders shall be turned off in the room. No written material or notes will be taken by the candidate. North Texas Council vetting panel members and candidate agree that all questions and responses at this vetting session are to remain confidential property until videos are uploaded and considered public information on the North Texas Council website and or an alternate website. Verbal questions will be asked and verbal responses to those questions will be given with 1 to 2 minute responses for each question. The candidate will receive a copy of his or her vetting interview recording upon which time the video is posted on the North Texas Council website and or an alternate website. And we will now introduce ourselves, the North Texas Council State Board of Education District 12 Vetting Committee.
Okay, Liz Moser from Garland.
Jamie Britton from Garland.
Barbara Harless from Murphy.
Babs Millward from Rowlett. Joanne Snodgrass from Allen.
And we have George Clayton here today with us, the incumbent. George,
Thank you.
would you please start us off? Thank you for coming today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Would you please start off by giving us a 2-minute self-bio? Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running.
Sure, absolutely. My name is George Clayton. I am the incumbent running for the State Board of Education District 12. I was born August 3rd, 1949 in Greenville, Texas, just east of here. I grew up in Garland, went to all Garland schools, graduated from Garland High School in 1967, when it and South Garland were the only two high schools out there. I went to East Texas State University. I didn't graduate from there. I ended up in Florida, graduated from the University of South Florida in Tampa with a degree in Western philosophy and ethics. I worked in real estate for a number of years in Florida and decided to move back to Dallas, pursued the real estate career here for a few years, but I had always wanted to be a teacher. So the Dallas Independent School District had an alternative certification program, which I registered for, was accepted, and went through that process. And have been an educator going on now 14 years with that district. I started out as remedial English at the secondary level teacher, teaching English 1, 2, 3, and then I taught English 1, English 2, English 3, English 4, English 4 AP. And for 6 years, I was academic coordinator at North Dallas High School, and what that means is I work with the 4 core subject areas in working with their curriculum to align it with a tax test to prep the kids for tax. I did a lot of organization for tutoring, after-school tutoring, Saturday academies, after-school academies. That was my function as academic coordinator. I have just recently received a promotion and moved over to Thomas Jefferson High School, where I'm a special projects development coordinator and essentially working in the same area as the academic coordinator, but in a little broader sense. And I have primary function over there is to work with the teachers and working with their curriculum and aligning that curriculum for the kids.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, this is your first question.
Sure.
You have 1 minute to answer. What made you decide to run for a position on the Texas State Board of Education, and what is your primary goal?
Well, of course, I'm running for re-election to the State Board of Education. What prompted me 2 years ago was when I came into teaching 14 years ago, I was a little bit shocked and stunned at what education had become. It had become more of a social event for students, especially at the secondary level, and I was kind of moved back by the amount of testing in the classrooms as demanded by the state and the districts. And the districts demanded a lot of that testing because of what the state had demanded. What I didn't see in high school at the secondary level was the kind of in-depth teaching and learning that I had gone through at Garland High School. And it didn't take long to realize that all of this had come out of Austin, Texas, and that it was not getting better but getting worse. And that's what prompted me to run for the state board, to have a platform in which, as an educator, I could help make a change in that system.
Thank you. George, you have 2 minutes to answer this question. Senate Bill 6, which became law in the last Texas legislative session, defines open source instructional materials as electronic instructional materials available for download at no charge to a student. With Senate Bill 6, why do you think that eligible institutions, including certain research universities and members of the American Association of Universities, are allowed to submit open source instructional materials for adoption without the State Board of Education being able to reject the materials?
This is a sticking point with members of the State Board of Education. The legislature bypassed us on that. It's not the first time, and it probably won't be the last time. I don't think they should have done that. It worries me greatly that this open source material is out there, and it has not passed through the vetting process, which we put through textbook publishers. We put through that. Now, they've even drawn back on that a little bit, allowing textbook publishers to sell directly to the local districts. This is a concern. Now, I'm a fan of local control, a proponent of local control, but you have to have some guide somewhere. And the state board would be the perfect guide so that all the districts were on the same page. They wouldn't necessarily have to purchase from the same publisher. But this open source material that's out there on the market now is open for the local people, and here's the problem. If it's sold inexpensively, but it doesn't meet the requirements of the TEKS, then we've got an issue in the schools because the students are still held accountable to those TEKS, as are the teachers. So I have big issue with that, and it's part of the reason I'm running for re-election. The state board, the only avenue they have is to lobby the members of the legislature to make that change. And so one of my functions will be to lobby both the Senate and the House Education Committee to take a closer look, to go back and look at that, because I think they've made a mistake on that.
You have 2 minutes to answer this question. With the passage of Senate Bill 6, local school districts will be given their own allotment of funds and more flexibility to purchase textbooks, open source instructional materials, and computer equipment, as well as pay for salaries and training of technology personnel with less oversight by the State Board of Education. Do you see this as a good thing? If yes, why? If not, why not?
Well, it's kind of a mixed bag, isn't it? Number one, they are required to certify that the materials they adopt meet the standards. But the legislature didn't stipulate how that certification is. Simply could be a one-sentence letter sent from the superintendent's office. That is not good enough. So the state board, once again, has been diminished in this process, and I think that's a mistake. I kind of touched on this in the last answer. What worries me about the allotment going to the school districts is that they will, being cash-strapped, and we all know that they are all over the state, they're going to go out and seek the least expensive materials that they possibly can. And then all they have to do is issue a simple statement, well, these materials meet the standards. Well, who's going to audit that? Where does that audit come from? So this is another error I think that the Senate and the House have made, especially the education committees, and should be revisited. This is one of my missions if I'm reelected. Let me rephrase that. This is one of my missions when I'm reelected, to lobby to have these items you're talked about changed and firmed up. And what I would prefer is have all of this returned to the State Board of Education where it belongs.
You have 1 minute to answer this question. Thomas Ratliff was an active lobbyist when he ran for the State Board of Education, but this information did not come out until after he was elected. Have you ever been a lobbyist, or do you have any other potential conflicts of interest that others might perceive as influencing your State Board of Education service?
No, I'm sure that if I had, it would have come out by now because I've been on the board going on 2 years. I'm not a lobbyist, and I just use the word lobby, but I'm in as a member of the board, not as a paid person from some company. But no, I have no conflict of interest. I'm not a lobbyist at all. Don't intend. I'm a teacher. That's what I do.
Okay. You have 2 minutes to answer this question. Education Week, June 2010, states that Democrats and some Republicans, including Texas State Senator Kel Zilliger, plan to push bills in 2013 that will rein in the State Board of Education authority or abolish it altogether. This is not just a Texas issue. In Iowa, Republican Senator Brad Zahn introduced Bill number 2371 to eliminate Iowa's Department of Education and State School Board. This bill moves authority to regents and councils that are unelected and unaccountable to the people. What are your thoughts on this, and what will you do to keep the authority of the elected State Board of Education?
Well, 2 minutes, thank you. First off, the politicians who set about to diminish the role of the public in education or any governmental process are making a big mistake. Education is the property of the people of Texas. And the members of the State Board of Education were once appointed. They are now elected and have been for a number of years. This gives the people of Texas, who pay for the buildings, who pay for the teachers, who pay for the textbooks, who pay for the curriculum, the blackboards, and the very pieces of chalk that are used on the blackboards. Now that's kind of anachronistic, it's a throwback to old time, but I still am a chalk person. They're entitled to have a voice in education. We're going to look at what would happen. We abolish the State Board of Education and we hand that authority, say, to the commissioner, which makes him a real czar of education. He's unelected. It's a political appointment. And/or it goes to the legislature. Do you want the legislature to sit as a State Board of Education? Most of the problems we have in Texas right now come out of the legislature. So I don't support that kind of move. In fact, I would say that if you really want to enhance education in Texas, is to re-empower the members of the State Board of Education and let them deal with the job of running education policy in the state of Texas. I think a 15-member panel can do it much better than several hundred people in the legislature. Absolutely opposed to that kind of thing.
You have 2 minutes to answer this question.
He has 1 minute. Oh, I'm sorry. I beg your pardon.
2 minutes. What 3 pieces of legislation related to education would you like to see pushed in the upcoming legislative session?
Well, I guess we kind of touched on that. One, I would like to restore the authority of the board to approve all materials, and make certain that the TEAC standards are met in all those materials. I think I would like to revisit the allotment to the districts. I'm not happy with the way that piece of legislation in Senate Bill 6 was written, allowing for the local districts to go out and purchase materials. Now, of course, local districts adopt the local materials anyway. But now they have the power to go off the approved SBOE list, and I think that should be changed. I think we should go back to they must purchase off the SBOE list. Listen, the publishers that we look at are vetted very, very well and very thoroughly over a long period of time. So you have a local district now that can go and purchase from a publisher who hasn't been vetted at all. And there are no guarantee to say that the local district is going to vet those people. So I think that should be changed. So I would say that those 2 items, I don't know, there are so many things. I would recommend that the entire text of Senate Bill 6 be reviewed because it's causing all kinds of issues. Now, you do know that the word textbook has been removed from Senate Bill 6. It's all instructional materials, and there's a great deal of debate as whether the laptop itself is a textbook or if the information that goes in it is a textbook. That is unclear. So that bill has some situations in it. So those 3 things I think we could take a look at and clear up.
Thank you.
You have 1 minute to answer this question.
Okay?
Do you believe charter schools should be allowed to promote other cultures over American culture? And do you support allowing charter schools to use the permanent school fund to guarantee construction bonds? Why or why not?
No to both. No to both. Number 1, to promote the nationalism of a country other than the United States. If I thought that were true, and you know, the State Board of Education grants those charters. Any entity that comes before the board and gets through the initiatives committee, which it would have to do, and gets to the state board, that has made it clear that they're going to promote the national interest of a country other than the United States will not have my vote. And I will speak up